What's up, people? This is River coming at you with the third episode of the Right from the River podcast. And I just wanted to first start off with an apology for last week. I failed you guys. I did not give you an episode last week, but I wish I had a better excuse for it. But I mean, 4th of July happened. So I took the holiday and I was a bit lazy. But we have a new episode coming out today. So nevertheless, that's all that's important. And let's get into it, man. We're going to start the episode off with the beginning bong rip of the week. I forget what I called it last week, but we'll come up with a fancy name for it here soon. To this week, nice little update. I got a new glass rig last week, so that was super cool. Nothing too fancy. It's an audio podcast, so that's glass all right. But it's a super nice piece. It was only like $40 and it has like a nice 90-degree joint on it, so I can actually use it to take dabs too. But yeah, let's jump into that. It's the beginning bong rip. The strain this week is going to be, what does this say? What is this bag? Okay, some Skywalker OG. I can't remember what I smoked last podcast, but I mean, I guess that's a testament to how good the product is. So yeah, man, let's start this podcast off right. Beginning bong rip. Let's do it. Skywalker OG. All right. Starting it off right. So for this week's podcast, I kind of wanted to go just a little route and do some story time with y'all. I remember... Sorry, let me exhale all of this smoke first. But... I remember mentioning in the first podcast that I wanted to kind of take a little bit of an approach towards like the paranormal and things like that as well, about like cryptozoology and stuff like that, because ever since I was a little kid, that's always been something that's like fascinated me. And oh my goodness, excuse me. But it's not something that I was fascinated in just for the sake of being fascinated with it. I was always really into like the cryptid stuff, cryptozoology, because I've seen some shit growing up. I've seen some stuff since I was a little kid that has definitely made me question what we consider normal and paranormal in this world. But I'm going to take a step back from that a little bit and kind of just explain what cryptozoology is. It's cryptids and cryptozoology. It's essentially, what is a good definition? It's just paranormal animals. Things that could or could not exist, but there's been no physical proof that these animals actually exist. So things like Bigfoot, the Chupacabra, Jersey Devils, stuff like that, those are considered cryptids. There is no physical evidence that these creatures exist, but you ask many, many people of many different cultures and backgrounds, and they'll tell you that some form of these animals and creatures exist in this world. But yeah. Also, growing up in Colorado, there is definitely a bit of paranormal things that go through our state, and it's always been pretty prevalent here. For instance, a lot of people are aware of the conspiracies that hide behind the Denver International Airport's walls. A lot of us know about the creepy, kooky stuff that's allegedly going on there, so that's definitely been something that's helped keep the paranormal conspiracy theorist in me alive and thriving. Along with that, or other than that, we also do have a lot of alleged Bigfoot sightings in certain parts of Colorado National Forests. Specifically, I grew up in Colorado Springs, and around that area, we heard that there was allegedly a lot of Bigfoot activity near Green Mountain Falls area. I never went up myself to like go Bigfoot hunting or anything like that, but now that I say that out loud, that actually does sound kind of like a good time, so I'm probably going to have to try that at some point. Maybe we can make a vlog out of it. That would be kind of cool. Be a little creepy, but I am totally up for it. But I feel like a nice segue into that from Bigfoots and alleged Bigfoot sightings here in Colorado is my first spooky story. So a couple years ago, my significant other, Brianna, and I decided that we needed to take a little bit of a break just from work, just from the city. It's like many other people. We needed a break. We needed some time for just ourselves. So we decided to go to this little mountain town that was maybe about 45 minutes west of Colorado Springs. So, relatively not that far. It was a beautiful drive up there, so it did not feel like a long drive at all. But once we got up to this little mountain town, we decided to get a log cabin. just nothing too crazy, nothing too big. We found this cool little camping slash hotel area where they had these little 1 bedroom cabins where just like a couple or a few people could rent out. And it was just really fun. It was really cool. The day was relatively normal. We showed up a little later in the afternoon. We got all of our stuff in the place and we decided to smoke. Got our food and stuff like that, ate dinner, and went to bed promptly that night. And around, I want to say 1:30 or 2 in the morning, Brianna and I are laying there in pitch black. Remind you, this is in the forest of Colorado. There's not a lot of street lights around. We're probably about at least 5 minutes from the nearest street light because it was a back road. But in the dead of night, in the pitch black at around 2 in the morning, as we're laying there in bed, we hear this loud smack on our window. And it didn't sound like a bird running into the window. It didn't sound like some kids or some pranksters throwing a rock at the window or something. It sounded like a straight open palm smack on the other side of this window. And I remember sitting up. I sat up so quick. By the time my brain had come to and my brain had woken back up, I was already out of bed and like walking over to the window to see what the hell that was that just did that. And I thought to myself, maybe I just had a bad dream. Maybe I was just still kind of out of it from a dream or something, and that's why I got up. But I looked over to Brianna, and she was promptly sitting up in bed as well and asked me, "Did you hear that, or was that just me?" And so we both kind of sat there, definitely very freaked out because we're in the middle of the woods in an area where there's allegedly Bigfoot sightings. And I started to try to think realistically of the situation. Like, okay, what if it wasn't a giant mythical ape man in our forest? And what if it was like a bear or something? And that thought didn't help us feel better at all because either way, it's a animal. You either have Bigfoot or a motherfucking black bear on the other side of that window. So either way wasn't really a good bet. It wasn't really making either of us feel better about the situation. But so yeah, we were a little bit freaked out from it. So we decided to just turn the light back on, decided to smoke a little bit. We watched a little bit of TV. The movie Hero was on. Great movie. I fucking love Donnie Yen. Love Jet Li. And yeah, after maybe about 45 minutes, we finally mellowed out a bit and decided to go back to bed. But it was just fucking crazy. Like, that's something I can add to my books. Is I had Bigfoot open palm slap my window while I was trying to sleep out in the middle of the Colorado forest. So crazy times. If anybody else has any like wild Bigfoot stories or even just any like wild cryptid story, it doesn't even have to be paranormal actually. If you guys have any crazy stories that made you think, did that really just fucking happen? Is this real life right now? Then please let me know. Write it down in the comments, send me a DM, do something because I am totally for the weird. I love shit that makes my hair stand up on end. I love hearing stories that give me goosebumps and send shivers down my spine. So if you guys have any wild stories, send them to me. Maybe we could try to like come up with a little skit or something like that, or a little segment where we can, read freaky stories from listeners and things. That would be really awesome. Sorry. Oh my God. Sorry, I needed to take a drink real quick. But yeah, that was the first story. I think I'm going to take a quick little hit of this Skywalker OG real quick before we get into our next paranormal telling. All right, and we are all set to go for the second story. Actually, I feel like there was something I was going to say before I got into the second story. I feel like I'm just kind of hauling through it right now. I guess totally random, totally different break from that real quick. Last podcast, I said that I hadn't really caught up or anything on the Loki show. And now I have. And holy shit, it is a great fucking show. Like, if I'm being honest, it is a pretty awesome show. It's super cool. I love how the Marvel TV shows, or the Disney Plus Marvel TV shows, have been setting up so much. I think it's just super cool. It's, for the longest time, we had to wait like a year for 1 or 2 movies to come out before we got any info on what they're doing next. And it's just super cool. It's very immersive. A lot of Easter eggs have been, or I've been able to find a lot of Easter eggs in it. So it's just cool for like the super nerdy, in-depth people, which I have been a lot more recently. I can't remember if I've mentioned it already, but I actually downloaded the Marvel Unlimited comic app like 2 or 3 months ago, and I've just been getting sucked into it. Like I've just fallen down the rabbit hole so damn quick with it, and I'm kind of for it. No, not kind of. I'm very for it. Like I fucking love these comics, man. And it makes me sound nerdy as hell, but that's fine, man. I love the comics. Like even my coworkers will try to give me some shit for being so into it, but I'm a nerd. But like I didn't get the memo with like nerdiness being cool. Like there are people now that are like cool for being into like anime and like certain nerdy archetypes and shit, which I'm like, good for you, man. But I didn't get that memo. Like I grew up like in wizards and dragons and mythical shit like that, and yeah, that's still considered like way nerdy, like super geeky kind of stuff. But whatever, man. I'm for it and I'm sticking with it, just like my comics. But yeah, long story short, check out the Loki show. It's pretty damn good. I think there's only like one episode left too, and I'm recording this on Tuesday because I'm really good with my time management. So yeah, we have one episode left, and I think that's the end of the season or the end of the series. But it was a short one, and it's almost wrapping up. So if you haven't started it yet, I mean, by the time I release this podcast, the whole series is going to be out. So I recommend it either way. Check the show out. But anyway, enough rambling about comics. Let's go back to rambling about spoopy stories. So the second story I wanted to get into is actually one that I've held on to for a really long time. Like this is like one of my earliest memories too. It happened to me when I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old, but when I was a little kid, my mother and I, we lived with our grandparents for a short period of time. And one night I was laying in bed, just asleep in my room. I had my own little room. I had a bunk bed, even though I was an only child. Yeah, I've never actually said that out loud, but that is kind of silly. I was an only child until 12 years old. Like I have a little brother now, but yeah, it was 12 years old, or I was an only child until 12, but I had a bunk bed until I was like 7 or 8 years old. So you figure the math out on that one. But back to this story. So I was a little kid, probably about 4 or 5 years old, in my room in the bottom bed of my bunk bed. And like, when sometimes you're like, your body's asleep, but your brain is still kind of awake, like might be in the middle of the night, you just wake up for like a second, but it's only mentally, like you don't really open your eyes or anything. Well, I was in one of those moments and I was laying in bed, body's asleep, my mind was still kind of awake because I could feel a weight at the end of my bed. Like something was sitting on the edge of my bed. And, I kind of freaked out at first, but then I had thought to myself, oh, it's okay. It's just a cat. But then I remembered to myself again, we didn't have a cat at that time. There were no pets in that house. Like my grandparents were in their room sleeping. My mom was in her room, and that was it. And so I thought, and my heart instantly dropped, and I just felt myself go cold because I thought, who the fuck is sitting on the end of my bed right now? And so I jolted my eyes open and I looked to the end of the bed, and I didn't see like a human looking figure. I didn't see like the boogeyman. What I saw sitting on the edge of my fucking bed was this creature that looked, the best way I could describe it is it looked like a baby rhinoceros. It looked like the size of like maybe like a French bulldog, but it was just the silhouette that I was able to see because I was a little kid, so I had a nightlight in my room, and the silhouette from that nightlight looked exactly like a baby rhinoceros. I don't know, like it sounds silly to say, but like that's the best way I could describe this creature. And I sat there staring at it for, I don't know, it felt like an hour, but it had to have been maybe 20, 30 seconds at the very most. And this creature reared its head up and made this ugly, ugly, like just awful noise. Like it was yelling or something. It sounded like a raspy human yell. And I remember just closing my eyes trying to yell for my mom, but being so petrified from the situation that I yelled for my grandpa. But knowing my grandpa, he is the MVP that he is, he heard my name and he ran to my room as quick as possible. When I opened my eyes, he had opened the door and turned the light on, and there was nothing at the edge of my bed. There was just nothing there. But it felt real. That was the scary thing about it, is not only did I see this thing, but I heard it and I felt the weight of it sitting on the end of my bed. So it was insane. And yet when he turned the light on and when I looked back to see if it was there, it was gone. Like nothing. Like there was nothing there in the first place. There weren't even any wrinkles in the blanket to see where something was sitting. It was like it just didn't happen. And that story has sat with me my entire life because it was wild. As you can tell from me describing it, it was just an insane situation. And to this day, I still don't know what I saw sitting on the edge of my bed. I have looked into things, I've done the research into different cryptids and things, and it doesn't match the description of anything that we've commonly heard of when it comes to cryptids and things. It didn't fit the description of what they say a chupacabra is. It didn't look like a mini Bigfoot or some shit like that. It was a baby rhinoceros looking creature sitting on the edge of my bed. And yeah, I was excited to share that, honestly, because that, out of like all the weird little shit that's happened in my life, that has been the most unsettling when it comes to the paranormal stuff, because I feel like a lot of us have maybe heard stuff, or we've gotten like a certain feeling in some situations where you feel like an external presence, I guess. But to actually see, hear, and feel it, to see something or to have something so tangible but not of this world right in front of me, it was creepy, man. It was creepy. And I've been kind of burning to tell that story. And I really hope that people get some joy out of it. I don't know. I hope that there are people that like actually hear the story, because it's just wild. And I would love to get some more insight. Maybe some people have seen some weird shit like that too. But I would love to try to find out whatever the fuck that was that I saw. And yeah, again, if y'all have ever seen anything like that, you've ever had an experience where you felt or you've heard or seen some kind of otherworldly presence or entity, then let me know. Let's talk about it, man. Let's bring this discussion up. Like I said, I love the weird, and I want us to feel like this is a good place for us to talk about crazy shit like that. Because it sounds silly when I'm saying it out loud, baby rhinoceros. But it wasn't literally like, didn't look like I don't know. It didn't look like exactly a baby rhino. It's just, that's the best way I can describe it. It's, instead of saying it was some weird lumpy looking creature that had some funky ass head, like, yeah. It was just, yeah. That's just the best way for me to describe it. But like I said, this is a place where we're not trying to judge. This is a place for the weird. So if you guys have any weird stories that you want to send to me, let's talk about it, man. Let's bring it up. And let's see. Sorry, I'm getting a text message, so I'm getting all distracted by that. But yeah, there are a couple other spooky stories that I guess we could talk about. They're not nearly as insane, I guess, as those two stories felt to me. But I think we might save that for a later podcast. I can't give you guys everything now. Like, I got to give y'all a reason to come back later. We got to have some kind of incentive program for this. But yeah, I guess to trail off of that, I kind of want to go back into the Loki conversation real quick, because I wanted to talk about the last episode like a little bit, just because I'm super excited. I feel like I'm just super excited with where they're potentially leading the show. Honestly, I feel like they're leading up to King the Conqueror, and I really don't know too much about that character, but I know he's like a time-traveling villain. He's like one of the Avengers' like big baddies, so I think it would be cool to see them set him up. I forget the actor's name. I can actually look it up real quick, but they've already announced that there's going to be Kang the Conqueror in the Ant-Man movie, and they've confirmed the actor already too. So here, let's see who's that. Oh goodness, who's it? Jonathan Majors. Okay. I don't know who that is. Okay, he is in the show Lovecraft Country. But cool, man. Good for him. But yeah, dude, Jonathan Majors is apparently going to play King the Conqueror in the new Ant-Man movie. And I would not be surprised if Marvel started to set up an appearance for him now. Because Ant-Man's not supposed to come out, I think, for another year or two. And as we've seen with what they did with Thanos during the first couple of Marvel movies, is they set him up way back in, shoot, what was it, like Thor, I think? I don't know. They set him up in one of the early movies. Even if it was just like a 15-second appearance, I could totally see them doing something like that with this character as well. But I think it would really tie into things because he's a time traveling villain. This whole show is dealt with like the time travel police, or not time travel, but the time police, and them trying to restore balance and keep the sacred timeline going straight. But it's a good show. I don't want to give too much away because this isn't, yeah, I haven't really discussed too many of the episodes before, so I don't want to just spoil some shit out of the blue. But yeah, I'm going to say it again. I think this is like the fourth time I've said it. It's a good show. You should watch it. Check it out. And oh, also, I wanted to talk about a situation that happened here in Denver that was super fucking wild. Apparently, okay, so here, actually, let me back up from that a little bit. So the MLB, the baseball, the baseball guys, they're doing, I think it's like the World Jam or something like that. They're doing some big event that's going on that went on, I think already happened. It happened already. But it was just a really big event. It happened in downtown Denver. Denver, this like was very excited to have this here because it was a nice little economic bonus after last year's bullshit with COVID and stuff like that. But apparently at a hotel here, I'm gonna look that up real quick too. See, I'm sorry, I'm not Philip DeFranco. I don't have this shit all like ready to go. I'm not a news channel person, but I want to look this up still. Sorry, it's quiet. I'm being quiet. Tap, tap, tap. Oh, that's so sad. I typed in Colorado, or I've typed in Denver World Jam shooter, and it's just okay. I can't find it, but a couple of days ago in downtown Denver, near the Coors Field, the baseball stadium, at a hotel, a maid had found ammunition. Like she had found over 1,000 rounds of ammunition just piled up in this room. So she had called the police about it, and police came in, investigated the situation. They found multiple firearms. They found the rounds of ammunition that she had seen previously, and they ended up arresting like four people. And I think they like towed a vehicle that was affiliated with the situation too. It was just, it's insane. They just stopped a potential like just another mass shooting, just another fucking mass shooting. And I am super grateful. I think the gods that this woman, this, I don't even know if this woman, it was a woman or not. I'm making assumptions. This housekeeper, very grateful that they found what they found and they reported it when they did, because they stopped a situation that could have been potentially devastating. And I just wanted to talk about that because I feel like Colorado has a very unfortunate history with like mass shooters and public shootings. And so it's just, I really hate to say it like this because it's so depressing, but it's just really refreshing to hear about a potential shooting that was stopped before it happened in our state. And that doesn't really, yeah, it doesn't sound good. It sucks. It really sucks that we have to put it in perspective like that because it's garbage. That mass shootings are a thing in general. That's something that we have to worry about in general. But it's really good to know that there are these people that get to go back home. They get to be with their families again. And I just wanted to bring that up because I know it's like definitely kind of a darker twist from what I was just talking about with like my spoopy stories and like the Loki show and stuff like that. But I just also think it's very important to bring this kind of stuff up too, just because I wanted to bring it up as a reminder of us to just be grateful for who we have in our lives and the positivity that the good things bring to us, and just to never lose sight of that, because there's always going to be some crazy people out there, some really awful negative people that want to take that from you, and we just can't let them, you know? We just can't let them. I kind of want to bring up like a little brighter subject before I end the podcast, because that's like a super dark note for me to end it on. Like, you know, like I've stated before, man, this is the Right from the River podcast. I don't have a specific direction with it. I want us to be able to talk about all kinds of different topics, all kinds of different subjects. I don't really have a specific direction that I want to go with this. So I do want to be able to talk about the darker things. And it's not, yeah, I want us to be able to talk about the heavier stuff too. And we're going to. And I know I'm still getting the hang of this. This is only the third episode. I'm going to get better at it with just like my script building. I haven't even like, you know, some people put scripts together for podcasts. They don't just their way through 30 minutes and then post it immediately to SoundCloud afterwards. I find it kind of fascinating, but I'm losing track. But yeah, we're going to improve with this, man. I'm definitely going to get better at this. We're going to start writing like scripts. I'm going to start getting segments put together. This is a good time. This is the Right from the River podcast. Let's not forget it. We are all a part of the riverbed. No, that's not the riverbank. We'll come back to that. That's a work in progress. Definitely not riverbed though. That is terrible. We are not doing that. But yeah. You know, I think that's a good place to end it on. Did a nice little river ramble at the very end. River ramble. That's kind of difficult to say. But we ended the podcast on a nice river ramble. We got into a little bit of serious subjects today, just for a minute there. We got into some spoopy stuff, and hopefully you guys like the recommendation of the Loki show. I mean, it's a super popular show, so I'm not like cutting edge by like recommending you guys watch this show, but there's a reason everybody's watching it. It's a good ass show. Definitely check it out. I think that's like the 7th fucking time I've said that. But anyway, again, this is River. This is the 3rd episode of the Right from the River podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys are still around, I will catch you next Tuesday. Y'all be safe and have a great week. Peace out.